My name is Will Woldenberg of the Beta Tau chapter at Tulane University, class of 2007. I'm also the current secretary of the Zeta Psi Educational Foundation and a nominee for Alpha Phi Alpha of the Zeta Psi fraternity. And I have the privilege and honor to introduce the recipient of this year's Distinguished Service Award, Les Mann, of the Phi Lambda chapter at the University of Washington, class of 1973. We like to say that the Distinguished Service Award is Zeta Psi's highest honor conferred, and that it is only given to those alumni who have, over decades, delivered special and outstanding service to Zeta Psi. And as you'll hear shortly, Les has delivered a lifetime of exceptional service to our noble order. He now joins a select club with 28 other living members. And before I tell you more about Les and his achievements, I'd like to recognize the previous living recipients of Zeta Psi's Distinguished Service Award. They are as follows: Edison Dick, Yale University, 1959. Bill Buck, Lafayette College, class of 1950. Jim Youngland, Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, 1957. Pete Wilson, Yale, 1955. Jay Rothberg, American University, class of 1969. Alan Rice, University of Minnesota, 1950. Rear Admiral Jim Carey, Northwestern University, 1960. John Gebhardt, New York University, class of 1969. Dick Shahaney, University of Alberta, 1968. Doug Donaldson, University of Connecticut, 1972. George McNeely, University of Toronto, class of 1970. Pat Carney of the University of Washington, 1976. Bob Bastide, University of Nebraska Wesleyan, 1960. Mike Freeman of the University of Maryland, class of 1968. Dave Sims of the University of Pennsylvania, class of 1976. Stephen Halpern, Tulane University, 1984. Greg McElroy, New York University, class of 1970. Rick Gateman, University of Calgary, class of 1981. Stephen Harper, University of California, Berkeley, class of 1965. Dave Busaka, Lehigh University, class of 1973. Jeff Ball, University of Toronto, 1979. Gary Moots, Penn State University, 1963. Locke Walton, Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, class of 1984. Dave Hunter, University of Texas, 1980. Tom Jewett, Cornell University, 1961. Corey Nicholson, University of Toronto, 1979. Les Hilgard, Stanford University, 1965. And finally, our outgoing Phi Alpha, Stuart Bowers of Maryland, 1978. In April 1970, Les Mann was initiated into Zeta Psi at the Phi Lambda chapter of the University of Washington. He served as their Alpha Phi and later as the Chapter Phi. As an undergraduate, Les served as the battalion commander of his Naval ROTC unit. Then he commissioned in the United States Navy as a surface warfare officer, where he would serve the country from 1973 to 1977 at the end of the Vietnam War. After the Navy, Les and Susan were married in 1978. In their 42 years of marriage, they've been blessed to see their son Jim become a parent, and they're now grandparents to a baby boy, Daxon, who was born in 2019. Coincidentally, Jim and I are of a similar age, and my daughter was born just months before Daxon was. Les led an admirable career in sales, marketing, and executive leadership, from which he only recently retired. He continues his public service as the president of the Saving Teens in Crisis Collaborative, an organization that supports families without the financial means to pursue wilderness or residential therapy programs. And of course, Les has provided a lifetime of service to Zeta Psi. I remember when I first met Les. It was at the Atlanta Midwinter Board meetings back in 2007. He had just been elected as one of the newest Zeta Psi Educational Foundation trustees, and I was the newly elected undergraduate rep to the fraternity executive committee. I remember when I met him, he was then as he is now. He was generous, attentive, and humble. And those are qualities that made me feel welcome as the youngest brother in a room of experienced gentlemen. It also helped that he didn't give me any grief about being an Army man. Les would go on to serve our foundation and our fraternity in a variety of leadership positions. He's taught at our leadership training institutes as a certified faculty member, and he's chaired the strategic planning committee and the nominations committee for both organizations. Les served the Zeta Psi Educational Foundation as either a trustee or as an officer for 13 years. That service has included roles as the treasurer, vice president, president, and past president. He's also served our fraternity as either a member of the executive committee or as an officer for 8 years, including positions as the Gamma Alpha, the Alpha Phi Alpha, and as Phi Alpha 136 between 2016 and 2018. But I think we know Les for his drive to challenge ourselves, in asking us to be better and to live up to our standards and our values as brothers in our fraternity. One example of this was his leadership of the honor campaign, which is a never-ending battle we'll continue to fight to eradicate hazing within our ranks. Les also facilitated a multi-year controversial discussion about transgender membership and brothers that was resolved at our convention in Ithaca. And in developing and implementing Zeta Forward, our risk management action plan, we've likely made a positive impact on our brotherhood, our friends, and our families through our own behavioral changes. The award we provide to Les tonight is not only about his service. It also reflects the sacrifices that bind leaders to Zeta Psi, the unsolicited giving of talent, time, and treasure, and the truly isolating mission of motivating brothers toward a common purpose of doing the necessary thing. Leadership's about ensuring that the values that we hold close aren't merely a motto, that they're not just words on a page, but a torch lighting the path toward a brotherhood true to the commitments that we and our chapters made during our own initiations. That's leadership within Zeta Psi. And so, in grateful recognition of his lifetime of generosity to and steadfast support of the Phi Lambda chapter of the Zeta Psi fraternity, the Zeta Psi fraternity, and the Zeta Psi Educational Foundation, and in profound appreciation for his dedicated and loyal service to the roles and responsibilities I mentioned earlier on, it is my honor to present this Distinguished Service Award to Brother Les Mann, Phi Alpha 136.
Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for not only participating in this first ever virtual convention, but thanks specifically for tuning in to this awards presentation. It is obviously a very proud moment for me, but thank you for your participation. Thanks also to Will, who preceded me with obviously some very kind and generous remarks. I appreciate those, and I also appreciate the consideration of the awards committee in selecting me for what is clearly a very prestigious honor, and one that years ago when I first joined the International Board, I would never would have imagined being in a position to accept this, either in person or via Zoom. What I thought I would do is really share three distinct thoughts. And interestingly, none of the three are really about me. We'll outline the highlights and accomplishments, but I want to share three thoughts. One is about teamwork, because none of the things that were cited in this award were accomplished by myself alone. All of them required a teamwork and could not have been accomplished without them. I also want to talk a little bit about what I believe is a common theme between those highlighted activities and results. So I think there's a way to connect those dots in a way that is meaningful. And then finally, I want to look ahead because frankly, we're probably entering the most challenging fall semester in at least many decades, both for colleges generally and for fraternities specifically. So the first thought that came to me as I looked at the award was about teamwork, because I owe thanks to far more people than I can even attempt to name here. The projects involved, for instance, with the honor campaign, it involved staff, it involved elder leaders, it involved undergraduate leaders, it involved outside resources. It's a great example of how things get done when people are able to work as a team. And so if you think about that, that's an opportunity that I probably first had in a meaningful way as an undergraduate, both as just as a member of my chapter, but also as the the undergraduate Phi of my chapter. So teamwork is I think one of the things I wanted to highlight on this award is that it may have my name on it, but everything that led to it has been the result of teamwork, and I think that's an important piece to this entire award. I also thought about those projects in a little different context, and that is that what was the theme that connects all of them? And whether it be the honor campaign, whether it be facilitating the transgender debate at the Ithaca Convention, whether it be the insurance action plan that led to changes to our risk management procedures, and which, by the way, looking back from 5 years of claims history today, Zeta Forward has been a tremendous success, and our insurance rates will be heading down to reflect that. But if you think about that, the things that I think connect those otherwise disparate items is really about recognizing the need for change, embracing change, and a willingness to both honor our history, honor our ritual, honor our traditions, and at the same time recognize that society continues to evolve and that subjects that our founders may never have even considered are front and center, and that we as a fraternity are going to continue to need to both recognize those changes in society, but also to figure out how do we fit in that environment. That if you look at hazing as an example, as an undergraduate, hazing was to put that into context, that's 1969 for me. But hazing on campus, if it wasn't a supported activity, it was certainly a tolerated activity. Today, it is the worst of the worst, and then oftentimes reflects very, very poorly on fraternities. So I think all three of those major accomplishments, as well as some of the committees that I've served on that were mentioned, all of them reflect the importance of being willing to recognize the need for change, put the energy in to address it, and still be able to honor our traditions. The third thought I had, and it has less to do with this award or with me, but if you think about Zoom conferences and you think about the old saying about the elephant in the corner, the COVID virus is somewhat like the elephant in the corner of your Zoom display. It is unprecedented, and it is posing amazing levels of uncertainty as the fall semester approaches. And you put that on top of the multi-year trend towards college administrations not wanting fraternities on their campus. You look at some of the negative publicity that we face, and it would be very easy to enter this fall semester with a sense of doom and gloom. What's the college experience going to look like? How much of it is going to be online and remote? How much of it's going to be in person? What happens to social events? What happens to the collegiality that comes with the college experience and is probably specifically most important to the fraternity experience? So there can be a tendency to think, oh, woe is me, doom and gloom. But as I reflected on that this summer, I take a different point of view, and I think about it in the context of what can be, and this can be an incredible learning experience for all of us, but particularly for the undergraduates facing the uncertainty on 52 different schools, 52 different scenarios of the learning experience. It's going to be opportunities to look at how we operate, how we live together. There will be opportunities to be creative, There'll be opportunities to problem solve. And I believe we have the opportunity to emerge as a fraternity. We have the opportunity to emerge even stronger than if the year was just an ordinary year. So it's a sense of optimism, it's a sense of confidence, and much of that springs from the opportunities that I have had over the years, not only to interact with my fellow board members and elder volunteers, but what really drives my confidence is every time I interact with our undergraduate actives, and even on Zoom, the talent, the smarts, the creativity, the critical thinking skills. Our organization has everything we need to succeed in this uncertain and challenging time. And so I just thought that was an important point to make in the shadow of the Distinguished Service Award, that everybody can hopefully take away from the convention in its entirety. And that is that we are going to be a strong organization with or without COVID-19, with or without in-person classes, but we're going to have to do that ourselves. And so I have a lot of confidence that that can happen. And I recalled, as I was putting my notes together for this, I recalled one of my favorite quotes from Winston Churchill, who at the beginning of what would become World War II famously said to the British people that despite the challenging times, that history would reflect upon that time as this was their finest hour. And I believe we have that opportunity as well. So thanks for listening to my thoughts. Thanks for honoring me with this award. Just thank you. I'm very proud to be a Zeta.